Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David Watts Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Mayo. Welcome, Steve.
David, how are you?
Doing
Happy
well.
Thanksgiving. We're a couple of days before here.
We are.
And I'm wearing, in honor of that, my Wakefield Warriors tie. Let's go Warriors on in Melrose, 10 o'clock, 10:15 Thursday morning. So before you get your turkey, go cheer them on.
Hope for a win this year.
Hope for a win.
Yep.
Doesn't look good, but let's hope for a win.
And hope we get highlights on the news programs that night.
Absolutely.
With us this month, we have our two chiefs, our Chief of Police, Rick Smith, and our Fire Chief, Mike Sullivan. Mike, welcome. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
Yes, it has. Quite a while.
What we're going to talk about, and this came up again a month ago, in fact, the day that we were taping the last program, is the public safety building. And there was some talk about redesigning the interior of the public safety building and reconfiguring the public safety building. And I believe that's going to come up formally in annual town meeting this spring.
Yes, that is the plan. The town voted, I would say, May of 2016 to do a feasibility study. Is that when we voted?
Correct. Yes,
to look at the public safety building, because really the public safety building doesn't work the way it's currently configured, currently constructed. And some people might say it never really worked the way it was currently constructed. And if you go in there, and we hope that we will have tours at some point for the public, and it does need some work. It does need to be upgraded. And over the summer months or over the year, there was architects were hired. They did a feasibility study to really look at how can we, as a community, how can the police and how can the fire provide, 21st onto 22nd century policing and fire safety to our citizens. And right now, there's some difficulties there. And the chiefs have been great working through this process, working through our architects, and I think it's definitely time for the community to get behind this and make it work and make it work for them, make it work for the community. So.
Well, and let's talk a minute about the individual sections, because basically the building, when it was constructed to be a public safety building with two halves, one for the fire, one for the police. And let's talk about the police configuration first. They did retain the original shell of the police station and then expanded it. But what are some of the shortcomings of the building that need to be rectified?
Well, first, David, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
When that building was built, the fire side is brand new. So basically, when they built that building 15 years ago, they built a brand new fire side and they rehabbed the police side. They kept us in the shell, and we actually have less space now than we had before they reset the building. One of the biggest issues, aside from the heating, the HVAC, and all those problems that we're having with it, the boilers that fail and whatnot, the biggest issue and biggest concern of mine is the lobby. For whatever reason, our communications section was put on the second floor of that building. So when you come into the lobby outside of business hours, Monday through Friday, there's nobody in the lobby to communicate with anybody. The mistake that was made was that communication should have been on that first level, so that there's a 24/7 presence of somebody. The way the building is now puts the town of Wakefield at a huge risk of liability. If someone comes in there at 2 o'clock in the morning looking for help, or a child comes in there, there's nothing but a telephone for them to call up to dispatch. So one way or another, this dispatch has to be moved. So if we're going to do that, and that's not a small project, that's a sizable project to do that. And bear in mind that dispatch area is just not for us, it's a PSAP, it's our public safety answering point for the entire town of Wakefield, as well as backup for our neighboring communities. So this is just not moving a telephone, it's just not moving a couple of computers. This is a major change in the infrastructure of that building.
Right. It's basically redesigning the interior from what it is currently.
Correct. And one of the challenges is the building was built offset. So the fire is level 1 here. Level 1 for the police is a half a level up. So everything is a half a level up, which makes it very difficult. It makes it difficult, to plumb it. It makes it difficult to wire it. It makes it difficult to heat it. It makes it, it just does not work. Now, there's another very expensive piece that comes with this is that all of the infrastructure of that building, our boilers, our plumbing systems, our HVAC, all are coming to the end of their useful life at this point in time.
After only 15 years.
After 15 years.
Yeah.
We've had boiler failures. We had one over the weekend. We have 3 boilers in that building, and we're running on 1. And we've had generator problems. And again, in a storm or electrical outage or whatever, we have to rely on that generator to provide public safety services to the whole town and our communities that are next to us, because we do crime knows storms don't know a zip code, so so there's some very large, sizable, expensive items that really have to be looked at in that building. And quite frankly, and Steve Mayo and Fire Chief, myself, the architects, we've all sat down and we've met with the Permanent Building Committee. We've talked about what needs to be done. It's going to have to be done, whether it's done today or tomorrow. So our goal is to get it done today while prices are manageable. The price of steel is going through the roof, and the longer we wait, the more money it's going to cost.
Right. But let's also talk about the fire section, because one of the advantages of the new building was that we didn't have to have custom-built fire trucks anymore to fit the old portals that were originally designed for horse-drawn steam.
Right. The old fire station was definitely in need of replacement. It was literally falling apart. There was concrete dropping out of the ceiling. The old doors on the fire station were 10 feet 4 inches, which is, as you mentioned, really low for a fire apparatus to fit in. There wasn't enough clearance. So all those restrictions are removed now. When we order a new piece of fire apparatus, we don't have to worry about that. We can get the regular clearance and full-size fire truck and so forth. Really, the only thing from the old fire station that was saved was the hose tower, and I think that was more for historical purposes than anything else.
Because is that even used nowadays?
It's a stairwell.
Yeah.
So actually, it did retain a basic function in the building, but that's really the only original part of the station that's left.
But what else about the fire station? We're talking about configuration problems, serious configuration problems in the police side. Is there that sort of problem in the fire side? Because I know your offices are down just off the lobby.
Yep.
But then the fire station itself is kind of around the corner from that.
Well, I don't think there's a problem with the design in the fire department. I mean, we actually received an entirely new fire station. So we had a lot of input as to where things went. I mean, it is different that in the new building that the administration level is below the apparatus floor, where in the old station it was on the same level. But it doesn't. I don't think that has a negative impact on anything. This new station can house more firefighters. So if we have a storm or a significant event, we have to hire back extra crews. There's a place for them to be now, where that wasn't the case before. We have a bigger. We can store more fire apparatus. Which is bearing out because now we have a 4th pumper where we didn't have one before. There's lots of advantages to the new station. So in terms of it being functionally serving the department well, I think we're doing okay.
So most of the onus is on the police side.
True. An interesting point, David, is that they reconfigured. They literally put 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag, and we actually have offices now. We're out of office space, by the way. We have no storage area, and everybody says the age of computers is supposed to be stored on drives and whatnot. And we all know in this business we have to keep paper records. We're unique, but we have offices that work in offices that were closets. There's no heat, there's no window, there's no air conditioning. we have 2 people right now that actually work in what were closets. Our cells, we've had trouble with them. They're deficient. Even though we have plenty of them, we certainly don't want to use them, but we have to. And we have problems with evidence. We have problems with leaks. We have problems with our radio system, the roof leaks over our radios, over all of our electronic equipment, our 911 system. So there's a whole array of problems that it's one of those things where you don't want to take the wallpaper off because every time you take a layer off, you find another issue. So we believe it's time now to fix it and to give us the room that we need. We're 47 strong now, but this job has changed. The chief spoke of how the fire service has changed. Our job has changed and even changed more so since they built this building. So our goal is to restructure with an eye on 25 years out, 30 years out, what we need to do and what this job is going to be like in 25 or 30 years. And we have the people collectively in town between Steve and the chief, the architects, our personnel who have a vision. We have an idea where we're going to be in 20, 25 years. So, this is why it has to be done. We're going to, if the money is approved, we're going to reset the whole interior of the building because it has to be done. Right now, it doesn't flow for us. It doesn't work for us at all.
If I can jump in,
Yeah, go ahead.
A couple things I want to expand on what Chief Smith had to say, and that absolutely right. I mean, people coming to that station looking for police services, whether it's in the middle of the night, regular business hours on, on, that is appalling that they're not able to go right in and see an officer like should have always happened from the beginning. And that needs to happen. Anyway, that needs to happen. So we need to do that. We need to look at the HVAC, and the chief is right. It's at the end of its life. We're going to do that anyway. We're going to have to replace those items anyway at some point. When you think about HVAC, and it's not that just, geez, it's like, it's like your house. It's too cold today. It's too warm the next day because you have an old system. It's because we have a 911 system. Those computers have to be maintained at a certain level, or it's not going to work. They're not going to work, and that is not going to service the surrounding community and the people of Wakefield. The whole record retention, that has to work. And if it doesn't, and if it doesn't, we have serious issues. So, in doing all of those things in reconfiguration, a lot of it's going to be done anyway. We have to do it because we're at the end. So we might as well do it and make it right, and not spend that little bit of money or a lot of money now, and we could spend a little bit more and make it right. So to me, it just makes all the sense in the world. And when it's all done and built in a year and a half, those HVAC systems are going to be a year and a half older. That if we had done nothing, then we're going to fail. I mean, we've had issues where the chief has called me and said, listen, we got to hope that generator kicks over. We got a problem, whether it's too hot or it's too cold. What's going to happen to our system? So this isn't, I'm not being an alarmist, and I'm not saying anybody here is an alarmist, but this needs to be done.
Right. Well, and this is something we've talked about within the emergency management group, is what the building needs to be able to do in an emergency situation to make sure that everyone is taken care of. And we've talked about many, many different emergency scenarios that can happen in these days, especially where we have a lot of tanker trucks going up and down 128.
Could be anything. Today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The other thing that I'll ask the police chief to expand on is that, and I'm very proud, and I know he's very proud of what Wakefield has done in these in family services and in helping some of the mental health issues. And these people, these officers that are working, are in closets. There's no privacy. There's a lot of these things that that police department is trying to do, looking at the opioid crisis and helping in family counseling. We have officers really in closets, like he said, and there's no privacy. They're working with the family. So that's a whole. Why don't you expand on what is a new building going to mean for things like that?
Well, what it'll do, Steve, is we'll expand office space in the interior of the building, so that, for instance, our family service officer or our clinician, we have a mental health clinician that works with us 20 hours on a grant, works with us 20 hours a week. A big part of our job now is dealing with the mental health crisis in this country today. That's not going away. So our family service officer we'll be able to give her and others office space. We'll be able to have a desk and be able to have privacy to sit down and have a conversation with these people. These are very private issues. These are very sensitive issues that they deal with every day.
Right.
The average person on the street doesn't know what we do behind the four walls of that building, nor should they. I mean, they really have, they want to pick up the phone, and this is how it should work, and dial 911 and get the fire or police. And there should be confidence that when they pick up that phone, someone's going to answer it on the other end. On the flip side, when they come in and they're in crisis, whether it's 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, they should know that they're going to be treated professionally and with courtesy and privately. Interviewing victims. Our police department is victim focused, and once you're a victim, you're always a victim. So people, when they come in as victims, they deserve to sit in a quiet place and have a conversation, maybe cry, maybe whatever. They have to reflect on what's happened to them. We have to provide that as an agency, and right now we can't do that for the people that come to us. We have no place for them to have a moment by themselves. And it may sound glamorous, but that's basic 21st century policing in today's world. And we have to provide those services.
But in a lot of ways, it's no different than policing when we were younger. We all remember the view of the police station. Someone would walk in and there would be the desk sergeant who would take care of anything and was there to deal with situations like a woman running away from an abuser, you know, and trying to get help. Right now, and this may be the liability that you're talking about, if that were to happen at 2 in the morning, there would be no one there for them to go to. They've got to reach for a phone, and there may be somebody chasing them into the building.
Correct. Or it could be a child. Or it could be someone who doesn't speak English. In fact, we're converting the signs in the lobby now to different languages because of the population we serve. But 80% of our work is people come into the building. They come into the fire side looking for records and assistance from the fire department. They come into our side. Right now, it doesn't work. So when 80% of our customers come in, they're not being serviced appropriately. And you know, but you bring up a great point of someone coming into that building and needing help. It doesn't have to be 3 in the morning. It could be 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
Sure.
Right.
And
Sure.
nobody's there. And it's just, it was an old, I don't know how we got to be at that point, but nonetheless, we won't talk about that. Let's talk about how we're going to fix it and make it right.
Well, I think that's the more important thing, is focus on how to reconfigure the building. Forget about the past in this case. And I'm not one that usually says forget about the past, but forget about the past. How do we make this building work going forward?
And I think the big piece that people have to understand is in Wakefield, public safety provides a tremendous service. Fire and police work hand in hand. We work very well together. So again, it's seamless. They call, we come. But what goes on and how we iron out those wrinkles that people don't see is important. So to make office space that works, to give detectives the office space they need to do their work and interview people, suspects, victims, to give us the proper evidence storage that we need for drugs and weapons and your property that we take in that might have been stolen. Stuff like that, we're professionals. We need a conference room. We don't have a conference room in that building. Well, on the police side, chief's got a little bigger than, we can't sit down. Our staff can't sit down and have a conversation about anything.
Right.
This is all policing. These are not luxuries. These are basic tenets that we need to perform our duty.
And really the community room / emergency operations center isn't conducive to that.
No, not at all.
In any way, shape, or form.
Nope, not at all.
And people have a right when they come to the public safety building to feel safe. You know, and when you step into the public safety building, you have an expectation. I'm in trouble. I need to talk to somebody right away that can help me. Or if, God forbid, someone is chasing me into the public safety building, that I have an area of refuge that I can go to and feel protected until I can get additional help. And right now, that just doesn't exist. And it's extremely important that change.
Well, and on the police side, even if it's during the day when there's an officer behind the glass, he still has to come out from there, out into the lobby in a situation where it's somebody running from someone else.
Correct.
And that takes precious minutes.
You know, when somebody's chasing you like that, and, you know, we've had these situations. We have a lot of people come in that building in the middle of the night. It's amazing how many people come in the middle of the night, or on weekends that travel through that building. I'd love to put a meter on the front door to see how many people actually come in. But like the chief said, we have to service them. We're a safe haven community. So if somebody wants to come to our facility and drop off a baby under the safe haven law, they're going to walk into basically an empty room in the middle of the night and leave the infant on the floor. That's not right. No. That's not the service that we should be providing.
And not safe.
It's not safe.
Right.
There's an amazing number of people that come into that lobby who need medical attention. You know, they may be having a heart attack. They may have cut themselves and then walked into the lobby looking for assistance. And again, they have an expectation that they're going to get treated quickly and efficiently. And it's just not the ideal setup the way it is now.
So going forward, you said that the fire station itself is in pretty good shape, but is there anything specifically you'll be looking for from this reconfig plan?
Well, in terms of our own safety, the new configuration will have a window right off of the lobby. The way it's set up now, somebody can walk in off of the lobby, walk into they have to actually walk into the hallway where the secretary is to be serviced.
Right.
The new configuration, if it's built the way it's designed right now, they would come to the window and the secretary would still be in a secured area behind the window. And I think that's important, you know, for our personnel that they be safe. In terms of like medical emergencies or what I just said, probably that wouldn't change. You know, they would call upstairs, and then we tend to have more personnel that are in the building that can come right down and provide assistance. Whereas may not be that way depending upon the time of day on the police side. But
so the major reconfig really will be the police department.
Correct.
And the core of that is moving communications downstairs.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Our radio systems, our heat, HCAV, and then another big piece that we just touched on was our whole evidence system and how we secure huge liability for us to store drugs and guns, and we store lots of them.
Yeah.
And as well as being able to process evidence in the correct way from when it comes in off the street to when it's secured in our evidence locker, and plus the availability or opportunity for us to provide victims and witnesses with the protections that they need. We can't do our job without them helping us and us helping them.
Right.
And we have to guarantee their safety. And right now, we can't do that. And again, it takes us back to what Steve and I have been talking about. We don't want to put the town in any position where they're liable for anything. We're kind of an insurance policy. And our goal is to reduce our liability from the beginning. One civil suit will cost the dollar value of the entire project.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good segue into the dollar value.
Oh, absolutely, and that's where I was going. But one follow-up question before that is, does this mean expanding the building? Because you said you have less space than you did in the old building. So are we going to see the old building disappear and a new building take its place, or?
No. What we're going to do, as it plans as now, if you look at the front of the public safety building, there's a 14-foot offset.
Yeah.
Police side is back 14 feet. So what the goal will be is to move the building out 14 feet, so the whole building will be flush with the sidewalk and match the fire side. The entry will be in the center as it is now, reconfigured, and then that space up the 3 flights that we have now, and down one, would give us the extra room that we need. Then we reset and reconfigure the inside. We'll be moving, for instance, like the Detective Bureau now is up on the top floor. That's going to change. That'll be downstairs where they're more on an operational side of the house. The administrative side of the house is going to move upstairs, where it's quiet and where work can get done. There's going to be a whole lot of changes. There'll be room for superior officers to have a locker room where they can have discussions. Right now, they're jammed in with the patrol officers. We have no any type of amenities for female command officers. We have women's locker rooms, but these are all things that we have to deal with by state law. So we'll be able to do that. And by 14 feet doesn't sound like a lot, but when you go 14 feet out, the length of the building up 3 flights, it's a sizable piece.
Sure.
So it's going to make it work square footage. And I'm grateful. I think both Chief Sullivan and I are grateful to the architects. They've been great to work with. They've helped us out.
They had a tough job, the architects, really, to come in and kind of figure out what they're going to do with this building, what our needs were, and kind of giving the direction. You got to do it here on this footprint.
Because we have to work around the supporting walls.
Sure.
Yeah.
Our garage is held up by steel columns.
Sure.
The whole building's on steel columns. So that has to be factored in, and there was a lot of work that went into this. And
So as we come down to running out of time here, let's ask the bottom line question: how long and how much?
I think that I am in my mind looking at this at $8 million.
yeah,
You know,
$8 million,
$8
yes.
million sounds like, and that is taking into account a little bit of, for inflation, and there's always the gotchas when you get there.
Right.
So that's taking in a
Right.
contingency there for that. Very happy that the town is in a position that we have good reserves. We have a number of other capital projects that are falling off the books. For instance, the Dahlbear School, the Woodville School, the senior center, library already fell off, that we've already paid our bonds on.
Right,
So
right.
it's my planning is to, and I think the planning, in talking with the finance committee and the board of selectmen, is to continue going through our debt service bond process, to do this all within 2.5. Let's say this is not going to add to your taxes. This is not going to be a debt exclusion. We can work this within 2.5. And knock on wood, as of today, who knows what the government's going to do to us? But so it really will be seamless to the taxpayer,
Right.
And this will just continue on our process of improving Wakefield's infrastructure within that framework that we have.
Well, and then the other part of the question is, what does the police department do during the construction period? Because when the current building was constructed, the police department was relocated to the Montrose School, which doesn't exist anymore.
We can't use it anymore.
So what is?
Go ahead.
We're gonna stay in house, and we're gonna do it in stages.
Yeah.
We've actually already had discussions on how this is going to work, and we will not skip a beat. We will not miss one 911 phone call. We haven't figured out how we're going to move people around. It'll be a rough adjustment for people for a while, the 18 months, whatever it takes to get it done. But services will not change. People will pick up the phone. We will answer. We will come, and we'll work around it, with the goal, the prize being, wrapping it up and making it a nice, tight, efficient, effective, and safe building for everybody, both police and fire.
Well, and on that note, we've run out of time, but thank you very much, Chiefs, for joining us.
Thank you.
And there will be more on this as we get closer to annual town meeting next May.
And we plan on having tours, let the public see where we're getting public, so they can come in and get a real look at it. So I think it'll work out well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Wishing
thank you.
everyone
Thank you.
a very happy Thanksgiving, a very safe Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next month.